With NFL news happening around the clock, you'll never be left on the outside looking in on the Insiders Podcast, featuring myself, Tom Pelissero, along with Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo, Judy Batista, and NFL Network's team of experts. The Insiders has you covered with up-to-the-minute news from around the league, detailed team reports, and analysis that only the Insiders can deliver. Listen to the Insiders Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thanks so much for joining us for the next hour. I'm Paul Dottino. He is Super Bowl champion Howard Cross, and we'll be here to talk Giants football as well as maybe some other NFL topics if you'd like to chime in on those as well. Our phone number is 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. You can also go to Twitter and hit us up on #GiantsChat. And as a reminder, you can always find an archive of this show if you're not joining us live by going to the Giants mobile app and podcast platforms everywhere and at giants.com/podcast. He is at Howard Cross 87. I am at Giants WFAN. Howard, it is always good to see you. A bit sticky out there like Alabama weather right now.
This is hot, like Curtis McGriff used to say, it's hot all over the world.
There you go. Curtis McGriff. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, that's one of my Bama guys.
Big Curtis, man. He stopped the run real well up on that front line.
He could stop anything.
Yeah, he's a big man, Curtis McGriff. We are going to go through a couple of things here today. I did want to go through what John did the other day with Matt. We were told that they did the NFC East unit-by-unit rankings. That is 1 through 4 of each of the position groups. So we're going to give you our take on that. But then the other thing I kind of thought we might do, Howard, and I'm going to surprise you with this one because I didn't tell you we were going to do this. The bracket that the Giants 100 people put out, the folks upstairs, about the greatest plays in Giants history.
Okay.
They got the final 4 finalists.
Okay.
And I'm curious as to how you would rank the final 4.
Oh, I got to see them first.
I'm not gonna spring them on you with no.
Spring them on me and be like, final 4.
I will give you the final 4 at one point during the show, and I want to get your gut reaction.
I got fans yelling at me every day. I can't believe this play wasn't on there. I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm not even looking at it. I don't want to know what it is, so I don't have to defend myself against it the whole time.
Well, here's the defense for it is that the fans voted for the bracket. You didn't pick them. But now that we got to the final 4, I
have to really listen to them yelling at me now. They're really going to go after me. I was trying to play golf today. You remember this play? Like, yeah, it was great. It was a great play. Absolutely. How could it not? I'm like, hey, bro, listen, I got to get warmed up. We're on the putting green. Calm down.
All right, so if you want to give us a call, it's 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Lines are open. We will start at least by going through some of the positional groups in the NFC East and see where you would like to rank the 4 teams in the conference. All right, so what I'm going to do here, Howard, because I know it can be a little bit difficult to remember all of the players on all of the different teams. I'm going to call up for you, just so we have an opportunity to look at it, is the depth charts. So that it can refresh you, because a lot of teams changed over the course of the offseason.
A bunch of teams changed this offseason.
You know, so it can be difficult.
Zeke's back in Dallas. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
If all these crazy ads would actually come off of this this website, we'd be in a whole lot better shape.
You got Saquon down in Philly. You got all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, unfortunately, that's probably the biggest move that was made this year of all the teams in the conference. All right, here we go. Depth charts. Here we go. Depth charts by position, and that's what we're going to want to go to. And we're going to call this up here and go to the NFC East.
Okay.
NFC East. There we go.
That's pretty good. All right.
Okay, you good with that?
I'm good with
that. All
that.
right, so here we go. Pearson's going to keep track. And in the meantime, if you want to give us a call, we will be very glad to interrupt this exercise to talk Giants football with you. 201-939-4513. All right, why don't we just start with the quarterback since that's the number one position on the field. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback.
Okay.
You got Prescott with Dallas, Daniel Jones with the Giants, Jalen Hurts with Philly. And for the purposes of this exercise, we're going with Jaden Daniels for Washington. How would you rank them 1 to 4?
If you're just ranking them by ability alone, Jalen Daniels would be number one since he just won the Heisman, right? He's the kid with the most upside, and we haven't seen him yet. But if you're going to rank them by what's going to happen probably this season, not sure what Philly's defense is going to do. I just not. But when you have Smith and that monster down there together, you got to go Jalen probably for the quarterback number one. I'd put Dak probably number 2, even though I feel like the Cowboys unfortunately might take an actual step back. I'm not really sure what they're doing down there right now. I'd go Daniel number 3, and even though Jalen's a great talent, I'd say Jalen's going to be number 4. By the end of the season, if you go by the stats, if they keep Jalen healthy down in Washington, he's going to shock a lot of people. That kid's a good player.
Yeah, at the moment, though, unproven. Because you just don't know. And, of course, Washington's offensive line's not very good either.
I'm telling you, unless someone gets to him and gets hit, puts a lot of hits on him, that kid's he's explosive. He's something else.
All right, I wound up going.
Just so you guys know, this is QB rooms. I know that won't affect QBs as much because there's only a couple.
Oh, QB rooms?
Yeah. Oh, it's not just the starters.
Position
he wants
groups.
The whole room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then if we go to whole room, then
does that change anything?
Well, does it, Howard, for you?
Let me look. Yeah, if you're taking the entire room, then you got Daniels and Mariota down there. You got Hurts with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. You got Jones with Drew Lock and DeVito. You got Prescott with Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. It doesn't really change a whole lot.
So you're going to keep it.
Right. And the reason why it doesn't change a whole lot because Prescott got Trey Lance, and that's probably the succession plan. They're trying to get Trey in there and Dak out, so they don't have to pay him like $200 million a week or something. I think that with Jalen, they just don't have anybody in this room that can really come in and play for him if something happens to him. Kenny Pickett Philadelphia will run him out of town if he comes in and lays an egg. They will not be as polite to him as the Steelers were. Jalen has Mariota backing him up, so that's kind of good. Having somebody with some experience behind him. And Daniel's got I'm gonna say Tommy. I know Drew is the backup, but I know Tommy has the experience. He played. He knows the system, and he did well when he was in. So you got 2 solid guys in that room right there.
All right, I really wanted to go Prescott number 1, despite the fact that I'm not a huge fan. But when you look at the room in general, I have to go because I'm a Kenny Pickett fan, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I am. Well, we both know Mike Sullivan very well.
I do know Mike very well.
And Mike and I have had extensive conversations about Pickett, and I do think that there's a lot of upside there. Unfortunately, things in Pittsburgh just didn't work out well for him. I hope he gets the chance at some point. I don't expect, unless Hurts gets hurt, that he'll get a chance in Philly. But
if Hurts goes down, it almost totally changes the offense if Pickett's in there.
It does. They're totally different. So, but for that reason, I will go Philadelphia, Dallas, Giants, and Washington in that order.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's my pick. You got that, Pearson? Got that written down? All right. So now we can skip, and we can go to running back. Again, 201-939-4513 is our phone number. We go to running back in the NFC East.
And it's running back room, correct?
And it's the room. It's the room we're going to now, okay? You want me to go first this time?
Yeah, I do. So
okay.
I can read a lot more here.
There you go. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. It's got to be Philadelphia first with Barkley and Gainwell and Shipley. Those 3 guys, I know Shipley's only a rookie, but he's the 3rd string. So, and I'm a big Gainwell guy. I was coming out of school.
Okay.
So I'll go Philadelphia number 1. I'll go Washington 2 because of Eckler and Robinson for sure. I mean, that's a really nice 1-2 punch. I'll go Giants 3 with Singletary, and then the two rookies. Well, Gray's not a rookie anymore, but he's practically, because he barely played. You got Gray and Tracy behind him. And then you got the over-the-hill Ezekiel Elliott leading the way, and not a whole lot else in Dallas. So that's my 4.
All right, Dan. I'm going to go – Saquon has a good group of guys behind us, so I'm going to leave Saquon as number 1. But number 2, believe it or not, I think it's going to be the New York Giants.
Okay.
And I think that you know, I know we think that Devin's going to be a good player, but the kid that they drafted is a dynamic player. I'm talking about
Tracy.
Tracy's inside, outside. He catches the ball well, and I don't think people realize how good of a player he is.
Well, Howard, I think, to be honest, a lot of folks who have watched him think he can be a really good third down back.
He's going to be a little bit more than that. So
I think if he is, though, that will be over time. I don't know if as a rookie you can give him more than that.
A lot of rookies come in and become great.
It does
backs.
happen.
Yeah, all
it
the
does
time.
happen.
So I'm going to go Philly. Then I'm going to go Giants. I'm going to go Dallas, and then I'll go. Philly, Giants, Washington, Dallas, in that order because of the entire group of guys, not because of one specific guy, but in the system that the Giants have, and we'll be in third down a lot probably. So he'll be on the field a lot.
That's very well possible.
That's why I'm like, okay, I'm looking at who's going to get the most burn.
Okay. We next go to wide receiver. Again, 201-939-4513 if you want to give us a call and take us away from this exercise. We look at the wide receivers, and this one was also kind of easy for me, Howard. Let me just shrink the screen a tad so you can get everybody on here. And there is your wide receiver list.
The wide receivers are kind of easy. You know, you go with experience first. So I'm going with the Eagles because I like Brown and Smith and Roll Tide. I think that, you know, those two guys together are two dynamic receivers and two different types of guys. That, you know, with Smith with the speed and the incredible route running, Brown out there running like a linebacker, catching balls and pushing guys out of the way. I think those two guys come. Then you'd have to go. Dallas has a bunch of guys. Their top guy is a great receiver, but the rest of the guys, they're pretty good. They're pretty sturdy. Then you go Washington. Washington has you know, with McClain, with Terry down there and a couple of the other guys around them. I think they're going to be okay. Our guys, good guys. You know, Slayton's kind of the old man in the room, and then you got a lot of guys that are like trying to figure out if they're going to be proven, how they're going to be proven, how they're going to play. I think the Neighbors is going to be like one of those talents that's going to set the world on fire. And I think he's going to make the Giants receivers room jump way up. But right now, we got to make sure everybody's healthy and get through it.
This is where I reached. I don't think I reached on any other position with the Giants, but I reached here because I have Philadelphia number 1, Giants 2, Dallas 3, and Washington 4.
I do not go against CeeDee Lamb.
And I understand that. I'm thinking that, you know, Neighbors, if he comes out of the box like a house of fire, there's the potential that he could be every bit as dangerous as what Lamb is. I think Slayton is incredibly underrated. I think Wan'Dale Robinson in this offense is going to be much more dangerous than just a standard wide receiver.
Okay.
Because he does a lot of funky things.
I hope so.
Okay. And look, Jalen Hyatt, I didn't even get to him yet, but he's the 4th receiver I'm going to mention. And I think Jalen Hyatt, I got a feeling he's going to take another step. I really do.
I think with Neighbors being here and the kind of player that Neighbors is and the kind of personality that it is, it's going to make Hyatt want to take more steps because he doesn't want him to come in and leave him.
Competition in the room.
Yeah, he doesn't want him to come in and just leave him in the dust. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Okay, Pearson, you got those?
Yeah, remind me of yours one more time. Is it Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders?
No, I went Philly, Giants, Dallas, Washington.
Gotcha.
That's the one position where I think I really reached with the Giants. I don't know if I'm really overestimating or giving them a little too much.
You overestimate.
The rest of them, I think you'll find that I'm pretty square. But that one, I guess I'm just hopeful more than anything else.
I'm hopeful for that too.
I'm hopeful that the room is really dangerous.
And here's the thing now: Philly could drop out of it real easy if Brown goes down.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
CeeDee Lamb is kind of the focal point of Dallas, and those other guys are kind of like nice fillers, but CeeDee Lamb is their guy. Whereas Washington, they got a bunch of little guys down there, and I don't know who, outside of Terry, who's going to be the guy.
Right.
And that's what makes them dangerous.
With NFL news happening around the clock, you'll never be left on the outside looking in on the Insiders Podcast, featuring myself, Tom Pelissero, along with Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo, Judy Batista, and NFL Network's team of experts. The Insiders has you covered with up-to-the-minute news from around the league, detailed team reports, and analysis that only the Insiders can deliver. Listen to the Insiders Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'll go with the tight ends here, and then we're going to get to our phone calls, 201-939-4513, just to get the offensive skill positions out of the way, Howard.
Remember, the entire room.
The entire room.
Okay, go ahead.
Please,
tight ends.
go right ahead.
First. You're first.
Me first? I got to go. I got to go with Dallas. I'm a huge Jake Ferguson guy, and Schoonmaker, as a former second-round pick, backing him up. Mm-hmm. I think that's a lot of talent right there with those two fellas. I then went with Philadelphia. I mean, Goddard is just so proven. Mm-hmm. And even Uzama, who comes over from the Jets, he had several very productive years with Cincinnati, went to the Jets and got buried.
Okay.
I think he's going to come back and have the kind of year that he had with Cincinnati when he caught 40 balls.
He's going to have to make the team.
I think he will.
Okay, all right.
They use a lot of double tight ends there.
Okay.
I went Philly second, I went Giants third, and I went Washington fourth.
And why Washington fourth? Zach Ertz is still there.
Well, Ertz is
1,000 years old, but he's still there.
He's 1,500 years old, and Sinnott, who I really liked coming out of the draft, is just unproven.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking right now between Bellinger, who I hope has a terrific third season and a bounce-back year for him. And I've seen what Theo Johnson can do in the spring. Again, this is a projection. Mm-hmm. It's a projection. To me, it comes down to Giants against Washington as to if you wanted to flop those. You got Johnson and Sinnott, the two rookies, and you got the two vets, Bellinger and Ertz. But Bellinger should be ascending into his prime. Ertz is on the 18th hole, as you said.
Okay. All right. So I get that. So if I'm looking at them and the way they're going to be used, I'm going to go Philly's probably going to go number one, and Dallas is going to go number two. Actually, Dallas will go number one, and Philly will go number two.
Which is how I have it.
Yeah, because Dallas gets the ball their tight ends more. Then I'm going to kind of go in the same direction as you, but I'm going to go for a different reason. I think Bellinger is the perfect inline and move to the slot guy. I think he blocks well enough. I think he runs decent enough routes. He catches the ball. And I think the kid that we drafted, he is kind of a dynamic player. I think you can split him out. He's not afraid to get in there and mix it up, blocking. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the thing that's going to surprise people. Like, they could be in the game at the same time, and you're not going to know which guy's going to be in and which guy's going to be out. They can leave him as an inline blocker. He's going to go in there and fight for it.
Mm-hmm. So he blocked a lot at Penn State.
Yeah, so I think that moves him to three, possibly two, because they're going to have a good showing this year if the offensive line stands up.
Yeah, well, of course, the thing with the Giants is if their front five can protect, they won't have to rely as much on those tight ends to block. And we know in the last couple of years, the tight ends have had to do a lot of extra work, Howard.
I think they're going to be okay.
All right, 201-939-4513. Quickly, let's go to a phone call because I see the phones are lighting up. Pearson says somebody is already on hold.
Uh-oh.
And so we're going to go to George from Florida. You're first on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, George.
Okay, thanks, guys. How you doing?
Very good.
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Appreciate you taking my phone call.
Yes, sir.
I saw something recently that made me think that Joe Shane got a real bargain signing Daniel Jones at that $160 million contract, $40 million per year, based on Trevor Lawrence getting, I think it's $55 million a year for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the chart that you saw, and Bob Papa put it up on his Twitter, and I think it came from Fox or CBS Sports.
Okay.
They compared the career passing stats of Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones, and their numbers are almost identical in all of the key passing categories. Within a digit or two changed. I mean, that's how ridiculous their numbers are, so close together. And then what Bob commented on was they didn't put any of the rushing stats there. And, of course, Daniel Jones blows away Trevor Lawrence by millenniums. It's not even a competition. And so Bob's point was, look at what everybody's saying about Trevor Lawrence, and then look at all the venom that is spewed at Daniel Jones.
I think that the market dictates what guys are going to make. I don't think people realize that the market actually decides. And I think when Daniel was signing this contract, I was listening to people tell me, like, "Oh my God, they're paying him so much." I'm like, he's not getting anything. I was like, if he was getting something, it'd be a 5 on the number, not a 4. They're like, "How could you pay him that much?" I'm like, the salary cap's going up, everything's going up. The quarterbacks are going to make the most money. By paying him at this rate now, you're catching him at a discount. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And now they're like, you were right. I'm like, well, you're a prisoner of the moment. I'm like looking down the road a little bit. That's how you look at it, and I have to understand it.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
I was being a little facetious when I said he got a discount. What I was really aiming at is that Jones takes all this criticism, and it seems to me that the analyst types think that Lawrence is great. And Paul, you brought up the rushing yards. I'm looking at a screen now. Trevor Lawrence's rushing yards were 964, and Jones's are 1,914. Passing yards 11,770 for Lawrence, 12,512 for Jones, almost identical. Interceptions, which was a big deal. Lawrence has 39 and Jones has 40. It just I don't want to use the word fair. I don't like the word fair. I don't want to define what fair is because it's such a moving target. But I just think Jones gets a lot of criticism and Lawrence doesn't. And I don't say that Lawrence needs the criticism. I just think that Jones needs to be treated fairly. To use that word again.
George, the perception becomes reality. And the perception that has been put forth by Jones's critics, a lot of those in the media and then a lot of those in the fan base, is that he is just dreadful. They can't help themselves, and they just want to beat this dead horse into the ground. And no, the truth is it's not fair. It's just not. Yeah. You just have to let the facts speak for themselves. Daniel Jones is not the best quarterback in this league, and he's not the worst.
Exactly.
I just think that, and for all fairness, you can't play without offensive line. And I think you see that with Joe Burrow down there. Like, he's great, goes to a Super Bowl, getting beat up, and then all of a sudden he's out for a season. Now, you're like, oh, I hope Joe Burrow comes back. You should be hoping his offensive line comes back and gets together. So Daniel's kind of facing the same thing. He faces it, year in and year out. Hopefully this year they'll be able to, secure guys up front so he'll be okay. But if he doesn't, I would pull a hamstring. I really would. I would not let them guys hit me like that.
All right, Howard, this one's a little bit more difficult. Again, 201-939-4513 if you'd like to give us a call. And certainly we're very willing to accept it. Going over the offensive lines.
Are we going left tackle, or are we going the entire room?
Well, it's supposed to be the entire room. The problem is this depth chart only does by position. Okay. So I can only give you the tackles and then the guards and the centers.
Let's go tackles first then.
So, I mean, John wants it by full lines, by the full room. Right. I can't give you that depth chart, Howard, because it doesn't exist.
So by this list right here, the Giants are leading with the tackles, even with Neal at tackle, because you got an All-Pro player at left tackle, first team All-Pro player at left tackle. I think after that, with Dallas they're going to be playing a rookie, I believe, and another kid, so that's kind of puts them down a little bit. I think Philly has good tackles. I kind of like their tackles. And then the tackles from Washington. So I think Dallas, in this case, from the tackle position, right now, because it's unproven, Dallas probably has the last row of tackles. I think the Giants had the potential to have the first group of tackles in this just because of the all-pro player of Mr. Thomas.
All right, now keep that in mind, because now I'm going to give you the guards. Because, again, John wants the whole room ranked. So here you go. There are your guards.
Guards are a little difficult. I would go guards. I'd go put Dallas first because they were fourth in the first group. I'd put Philly second. I'd put Philly first, Dallas second. I would go to Giants third just because I'm not sure of the two guys from Washington.
Okay. And then we will go to the center, which, of course, is easy because there's only one center on each
I
of the lines.
I hope you're keeping all this because I'm going to have a hard time.
All right, there's your centers, Howard.
Okay, the centers. Centers. Well, Philly centers change, so they're going to go down a couple notches.
You have to after Kelsey.
Yeah,
you don't have a choice. There's only one way to go.
I'm going to go Dallas, Philly, Giants, Washington.
Okay, so my compilation for the offensive line grading, here you go, Pearson. I went Philadelphia, Dallas, Giants, Washington in that order.
I don't know how my order ranks out. You'd have to average all mine out, subtract by 2, and divide by 4. But if I had to put all those guys together, I would say the tackles pushing everybody up to number 1. I think the Giants will be in 2 and 3 in the next 2 spots, so I'd have to rank them overall offensive line play. Philly number 1, Giants number 2, Dallas number 3, and Washington number 4.
Okay, now we are going to go to defense.
That's if they stay healthy.
Yeah, well, that's always the key component, as we well know here in East Rutherford. I still think we should get like this gigantic can of Raid and spray the injury bug so that he can't come anywhere around here anymore.
I think you should go back to my days. Beer and wings, everybody will be healthy.
Is that the elixir?
I think
beer and wings.
All this healthy eating grass and herbs and
what happened to an apple a day?
Yeah, apple nothing. Beer and wings. Beer and wings. Go on about your business.
Okay, 201-939-4513 if you care to rescue us from this exercise. We'll go to the defensive tackles, Howard. I'll give you mine here in order. I went Washington, the Giants, Philadelphia, and Dallas.
Oh, on defense, we have to go position by position. Okay.
Well, we're going defensive tackle. We're allowed to go defensive tackle. Was he split them up between edge rushers and defensive tackles?
I'm going to go Giants with all pro, sexy Dexy. I'm going to go Philly. I'm going to go Washington, or Philly, Dallas, and Washington. I think Philly's D tackles are pretty spectacular.
But it can be when they're right. That's for sure.
Commanders have good defensive tackles too, right?
Yes, they do.
I think they have.
It's a good division for
think
defensive
they have
tackles.
okay D tackles. I'm not going to say they're pretty good. They can be great.
Okay, we go to the edge rushers. Okay. Edge rushers, I went Giants, Dallas, Philadelphia, and Washington. Giants because of the acquisition of Brian Burns to pair with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Does Dallas have? I'd go Dallas because you got to block that number 11 kid. I'd go.
See, for me, DeMarcus Lawrence is a little long in the tooth.
That's true, but Parsons creates so much havoc.
I know
that it lets a lot of other guys free. And they move him around. Even though he's an edge rusher, they move him around. He rushes slightly inside, slightly outside. So I would go Giants because we have 2 disruptors now instead of 1. Then I'd go. I don't know if I can put Philly in there before Washington. We're looking at the front too. I guess you go Washington and Philly.
Okay. Got a phone call, so why don't we head over to the
Paul, can you give me your order right?
Yeah, I had Giants, Dallas, Philly, Washington. All right, Jeff in Maine, you're on line 1. You're next on BBKL. Hello.
Oh, hey, afternoon, gentlemen.
Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Jeff.
How are we doing?
Good. I agree with pretty much all your picks, even though some of them are slightly different. But I'd like to talk about the running back room for a minute.
Yeah.
And I think with the new rules, you really need your running back to be able to return kicks. And that's why I'm really happy with 3 pickups that Joe Shane made, Singletary, of course, and also Tracy and even Turbo Miller. And the thing with Singletary is that I think, and also all 3 of those guys will be great on screens. And that's another weak spot that I'd like to see improve. But I think Singletary will be like almost unstoppable on kickoffs. He's 5'7", 203. I think tackling him will be like tackling a bowling ball. I mean, I think he'll be great. The other guys could be great too.
Jeff, and I would only say this before you go any further. It's important to stop you there because during spring drills, Singletary has not been taking any kickoffs. Okay? During the media sessions, which I'm allowed to talk about, I can't talk about the non-media sessions, but during the media sessions, we've seen Tracy back there, Turbo Miller back there, Slayton, Robinson, that's Wan'Dale Robinson. Those are the guys we've really seen back there on kickoff return. And, I'm just saying that Singletary, I think he may have taken a few one day.
But in theory, if he's going to be your lead back or the guy that's – I know there's going to be a running back room by committee, but if he's going to be your guy that's –
You don't want him doing that.
You don't want him doing that.
No.
Well, that's what John and Matt were saying too, but I got to disagree because with the new rules, I think that it won't be any really more dangerous than doing a screen pass. And you wouldn't exclude him from that, I don't think. I think by the new rules, if it were me and I was playing on the kickoff team, if you didn't get a chip on me and I get a free run at a guy and there's no wedge back there or anybody I don't have to defend myself against, you're going to run through him. And I think that they're going to find that out really quickly. They're going to see some returns for touchdowns. They're going to be awesome. And then they're going to see some guys that are going to have to slide down not to get blown up. Because there are going to be some times where you don't get the guy that's running down the field or you didn't expect him to make that move, and he's going to get right by you, and it's going to be – and the running back's running at full speed, and the guy that's tackling is running at full speed.
And, Jeff, to expand on what Howard said before about Tracy, yeah, he's a rookie, but many times in this league you'll see rookies break in on special teams and make a quicker impact there than they will in the standard offensive or defensive set. So I think Tracy, who has been taking reps as a kickoff returner, he's a very logical candidate.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Singletary wouldn't be great. I'm just saying that, I go back to watching, if you watch University of Alabama games, like emphasis on special teams is to try to get a big hit on the kickoff returner. And a lot of times guys will not bring it out of the end zone because they don't want the crowd going crazy.
Okay, you guys could be right. From what I understood, though, is that the defending team isn't allowed to even start running down the field until the guy already catches it.
That's true.
I'm thinking that might be safer. I don't know. I don't know if anyone really knows exactly what it's going to be like.
It is anticipated by the special teams coordinators around the league. We've heard the conversations.
I've been watching the other league too.
The XFL.
You can see in the XFL. You can see how some coaches are able to scheme it up and these guys can get free, and you can see how they try to scheme it up, and you got a guy that's slightly faster or a little more wiggle that gets through the line.
And he blows it up.
Yeah.
It is anticipated, though, that running backs will be the best fit for kickoff returners. That much is true.
Right, because they have to know how to take a hit without getting injured, which is why I would not like to see Malik Neighbors back there at all.
No. No, I think we agree, Howard.
That's back to the Seahorn days. He'll never be back there.
Okay, good. I'd be fine with Miller and Tracy back there to start. But I think to get through a whole season, and considering that you'll have two back there at a time, you're really going to need 3 or 4 good returners. I think Slayton was only taking punt returns. And as far as the punt return goes, I agree with you.
He was taking kickoff returns this spring. Again, I gave you the list of guys who were practicing at the kickoff return this spring during the open media sessions. That doesn't mean that those will be the guys in August or September. No. It doesn't mean that. Okay. But those were guys they were given shots to. I believe also, Isaiah McKenzie.
Isaiah McKenzie, yeah.
Okay. But I think Robinson will be a good kick returner, too. And lost my train of thought there. But anyway, I'm excited about the running backs. And so that was the only point I wanted to make. So I appreciate it. Great show.
We appreciate the call, Jeff. Thank you so much. 201-939-4513. Did you want to add something?
I'm just saying the kickoff is going to be special this year. If you guys have a chance, take a chance and look at some of these. Was it USFL, FU?
The XFL that used
whatever it is right now, you should watch it if it's still going on, just so you can see the kickoff return.
The UFL just had their championship game.
Well, then it's it. Then you missed it. Then you should have been looking at it because that rule is very interesting the way it works out.
All right, we got to go inside linebacker, back to our grading system, unless you guys want to dial us up and save us on this one again. 201-939-4513. Inside linebacker, I went Giants, Washington, Philadelphia, and Dallas. For me, it's very simple. Bobby Wagner, who is now all the way in Washington after bouncing around from Seattle and San Francisco, and now he's with the Commanders. Too long in the tooth for me. I get it. He's a Hall of Fame player. But right now, Bobby Okereke is in his prime. He's my guy.
And we're doing rooms and not players, right?
Correct.
Okay, if we're doing the room, then I think the Giants do have the best room so far. I think it goes to Giants. I think it goes – I would go Dallas, then I'd go Philly, then Washington. I think that those guys – I'm not sure Devin White is – did he come over from somewhere?
White was
he at Georgia?
No. White was in Tampa.
Yeah,
he was a free agent and did not live up to his potential with the Bucs. They let him go.
So they're having issues with their trying to stop the run and stuff. So they're bringing him in to be like a sideline to sideline guy. So that's going to be his moment. So I'm gonna go Bobby Okereke, who didn't miss a game last year, and the guys who follow him up. I think he has a good group of guys that are in there in his room with him, and I think. You go Dallas, Philly, then Washington. And it's not anything against Bobby Wagner. Like you said, he's a Hall of Fame player, but I don't think he's ready for if those big guys in the front aren't protecting him, he's going to get a lot of contact.
All right, let's go to cornerbacks. Howard, I'll let you go first on this one.
Cornerbacks, that's going to be rough. I'm going to go Dallas because I think Diggs is a special player. Roll Tide there. I think he's going to be good for a long time. I think the guys that follow him around and the off guys, the slot guys there are really good. Then I'm probably going to have to go possibly it's going to be between the Giants and Washington. I'm going to lean towards the Giants. I think Cordell Flott's going to make a huge step forward this year along with Banks. Banks is already proven to be great. I think they got a lot of guys they brought in to play that slot guy, as McLeod and some other guys. I think the Giants have a really talented room next to Dallas's. And then at the end, I don't know what's going on with Philly's secondary. So I'd like to say they were going to be better, but I'm going to go Washington then Philly. Darius Slay, good player, been around for a while, but he's been bounced around because he just doesn't have the foot speed he used to have. Still crafty, still smart, but you got to stay after him. And Isaiah Rodgers, they're hoping he's going to be really good. They're going to need some other guys. They're going to need some guys in the slot to cover guys. And this division is going to have a big impact from slot receivers and tight ends. So I'm not sure.
All right, I went Dallas because of Bland and Diggs. I just don't think there's a better corner combination in the division, and I don't think it's close. And then after that, it got sticky for me because we're talking about projection as opposed to production, and then there's the age question and the injury question. I couldn't help myself because Quinyon Mitchell, the first-round draft pick who landed in Philadelphia and angered everybody. It's ridiculous how he fell into their laps. Between him and Slay, I decided that I was going to go Philadelphia there in number 2, followed by the Giants and then Washington. I am with you, though, on Cordell Flott. I think he is going to have a really good year. I think
he's going to have a year that people are going to be shocked about. That kid can play.
He has always been targeted for the boundary in my mind. Out of necessity, he had to play some slot when he came here. That is not his best position.
And he
is a boundary.
You put him in the slot, and he covered guys.
He's better on the boundary, though, Howard.
He might be better on the boundary, but I'm just telling you. I was very surprised when he was in there. I'm like, man, I said, run it.
He's sticky.
They're running at him. I'm like, they're going to have to run at it to get him out of his game. And he hung in there really good.
He's very tough for his size.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, very tough kid. All right, let's go safety. And there you go.
Safety, I don't have any clue about because the Giants would have been in number 1, but one of their guys had to take a trip.
Green Bay's a bit of a trip.
Yeah. Safeties. Whole room.
While you ponder, 201-939-4513 is our phone number. Please feel free to give us a call.
Safeties. Let me hear yours. Let me hear how you
Safeties, I went Dallas. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Hooker and Wilson are the most accomplished of the safety duos in the NFC East. Then I went Philadelphia. The production of Blankenship was very high last year, even though they give up a lot of big plays. Mm-hmm. He is a tackle producer, and of course C.J. Gardner comes back from Detroit, and they're hoping that he's healthy and that he can give them some really good play. So I went Philadelphia second. Giants I went third because we just don't know if Belton or Nubin are going to start opposite Pinnock. Belton has shown flashes, but is he capable of stepping up and being a full-time guy? I don't know the answer to that. I think so, but I don't know that. And Nubin, who I have a tremendous amount of hope for, is he ready as a rookie? Is he ready to be the guy?
Well, at strong safety, he can be ready. All he's going to do is be filling in on the run support and taking that guy that's coming in the curl flat area that's coming out. That's where he's going to be playing that lower position if they play that kind of defense.
Well, I went them third and Washington.
If he
fourth.
plays back at if he plays back at a 2 deep, or if he gets caught in a deep third, then that's where you have to be okay. We don't know what's going to happen with him. I think you have to go with Dallas because of the experience. Number one, I think that's pretty good. I think the Philly, I would take them. I know you say they've been productive, but last year there was a boat race on their safeties the entire year. So I am going to go with history instead of a possibility. Washington's an interesting group, I think, because of, it depends on their front. Their secondary plays great, but they don't play as good when their front's getting gashed a little bit. So if it was me, I would go Dallas, Washington, Giants, Philly. And the only reason, again, nothing against Philly in the least bit. I know we don't like them because they're Philadelphia, but they were getting boat raced at the end of the year, and I don't know what that was about.
With NFL news happening around the clock, you'll never be left on the outside looking in on the Insiders Podcast, featuring myself, Tom Pelissero, along with Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo, Judy Batista, and NFL Network's team of experts. The Insiders has you covered with up-to-the-minute news from around the league, detailed team reports, and analysis that only the Insiders can deliver. Listen to the Insiders Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, now, special teams. Problem is here, again, the depth chart does not give you all the specials at once. So I guess we'll go return guy.
How are we going to do special teams?
I don't know how, but he asked for special teams.
A lot of those guys are going to be rookies.
I know. You know what?
You can put an emphasis on kickers and punters.
I'm just going to I'll give you Dallas, Giants, Philly, Washington. That's my 4. I don't know how the heck you're going to break this down.
Who is the Giants kicker?
Well, it's going to be Gano.
Oh, yeah?
He's been kicking in the spring.
Okay. I didn't
Not doing everything, but doing a share. They're pulling him back on purpose.
Well, then he's number 1. Who's the punter who's the best punter in our division? See what I mean?
That's a good question. I don't know who. It depends on what you grade the punter on. Are you grading him on hang time? Are you grading him on accuracy?
I'm grading him on.
What are you grading him on?
I'm grading him on accuracy and how many balls they get down inside of a certain position.
Anger's probably the best punter.
Anger's the best punter because their defense puts their most No, their offense is always getting. You don't think this kid from Philly is number 1?
Man, I think Anger's the best punter in the division.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Giants number 1 kicker. I'm gonna say I'll give Giants number 2 a punter. The returners, I don't know who they are. So I'm gonna say the way I would rank it, I'd go Dallas, Giants, Philly, Washington.
All right.
That's how I would do it.
The return guys could be anybody because
you don't even know what school they came from.
I'll just have you look at the place kickers. And then you can make your
place kickers are the kickers.
There's your place kickers. Well, your field goal kickers.
Yeah, it's Gano. Gano's kicking off. He's a kicker.
Right, but who are your others? You got to give me the rest of them in order.
Oh.
The Cowboys kicker did well last
year. Yeah, Elliott, if you don't know what Gano is going to do coming off of his injury, Elliott would be the pick for Philadelphia.
He said Cowboys, you said Eagles. I'm going to go Gano first. I'm going to go Washington second because they're not going to score any points, so you're doing place kicker. Then I'd go Philadelphia, and then Dallas would be last. And the only reason I'm doing it in that order because I'm thinking of who's going to get the most use. And I'm not saying that we know who's going to have the most use, but I trust him the most out of the group.
All right, so do you have your compilation that Pearson can put down for special teams?
But I already told him what they were. I told him, I said they're going to be
all right.
It was Dallas, Giants, Philly, Washington.
And you got mine, Pearson? Yep. All right. Coaching staff. Well, I don't need to call up a coaching staff thing. I'm telling you now, I would think coaching staff, just based on proven track record, okay, and the length and the substance of the resumes, as much as I would not want to say this, Dallas, Philadelphia, Giants, Washington. I don't want to say that, but I think the resumes are stacked.
Dallas lost their offensive coordinator or their defense coordinator?
Both.
They lost both.
Over the last 2 years, they've lost both.
Okay, so that's
over the last 2 years.
That's going to be a change and a big growth for them. Philly lost a lot of guys. Their offense coordinator wasn't the same guy last year. I think they stuck with him, didn't they? Or did they bring somebody else in?
Sirianni changed coordinators last year, offensively and defensively. And I believe, didn't he fire his coordinators again this year?
Was it Matt Patricia last year? Or was that the year before?
Okay, so.
Oh, he's got Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, of course.
That's what I said. They changed. So
if I had it again.
If I had to pick coaching staffs.
Yeah, you want the names? I'll give you the names. Dallas goes with.
You don't have to give me the names. This is how I would go with them.
Well, Schottenheimer and Zimmer.
Yeah,
Dallas.
This is how I would go. I would go. Giants would go number one, and people are going to think I'm a homer, but I'd go. Giants are going to be number one.
Okay.
I think that they're going to have the better. I like the defensive coordinator coming out of Tennessee. I think that they ran a similar defense, but not as blitz happy. I think it's going to make a big difference in it, and we've picked up the right defensive guys to run that defense. I like the offensive coordinator. But I also think that they're saying coach might be making calls at the plays, so that's going to be very interesting as well. If the offensive line coach can get those guys to block the twists and stunts, that's going to be a big improvement. And then the defense is just running wild over there, and I think the coaches are doing a good job. I go after Giants being number one, the number two coaching staff I would go with would have to be. I hate to say this, probably Washington. And the only reason I'm saying
that's Kingsbury and Witt are the two coordinators.
And the reason why I'm saying Washington is because, both Dallas and Philly had some late season turmoil. They didn't the Giants had to work through it the entire season. It was tough the whole season. Those guys stuck together. And they were trying to win. They fought through the season. They won some games late in the year. Dallas and Philly didn't. Dallas and Philly kind of slumped off. Even though they both went to the playoffs, they didn't look good at the end of the year, and they had to change coordinators. There's hangover from that. There's a lot of hangover from that. I'm saying Washington because when you get a brand new staff, everybody's happy.
I hear you.
Everybody's happy, full of anticipation, excitement.
The new guys are always better.
Yeah,
right?
they're like, oh yeah, we really got it now. We're coming into our own. So as far as for the fan bases, that's what's going to happen. Then the last two, I think. I pull for Sirianni. I don't know why I pull for him. I guess because Jalen's down there and that's my guy. But I think it's going to be Cowboys and then Philly, and that's the coaching staffs, and that's how I look at them. If I had to pick a staff with a healthy team in the playoffs to go through a really tough game, I'd go to Giants first because if they've made it to the playoffs, they're really healthy and these guys can coach. Mm-hmm. Right? I'd go Washington because. They don't know. These guys don't know what to expect down there because they're in the playoffs. They're in La La Land. And then I'd go Dallas and Philly. The only reason I'm saying Philly isn't where Philly is because that city will drive you crazy. And if you're not on top of your game or you're having an issue, you don't want to be coaching down there.
All right, Pearson.
I look at all factors, Pearson.
I think we're done.
Pearson, I look at all factors. I don't let anything off you.
201-939-4513 is our phone number. Finally, we just want to make sure you folks understand that coming up on Thursdays, the Giants Night of Legends at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Go to Ticketmaster. There are still some tickets available. All of the biggest names in Giants history will be there as they celebrate the 100 seasons of New York Giants football. We'll see Parcells, Taylor, Manning, Coughlin, you name it, Sims. They're all going to be there, all the biggies. And we certainly hope to have a tremendous time that night over at the Garden. Remember, also, Giants season ticket memberships for the 2024 season are available. To learn more about exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. The Giants Huddle podcast is also up, as it always is. Brian Baldinger, I believe, is the newest one. That one features all kinds of long-form interviews with Giants and NFL personnel. Go to giants.com/podcasts or subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. And Giants TV has all kinds of highlights and clips. It is on free. It is free on the internet on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. All right, 201-939-4513 in our last 10 minutes of the program. Howard, I want to get your take. The 4 greatest, now it's been determined. Here's the vote. Vote for your greatest moment in Giants history.
Greatest moment.
It's called the greatest moment.
Not the greatest play, but greatest moment.
Greatest moment, and 4 plays became, as a result of the brackets that the fans voted on, these are the 4 plays that became the greatest moment for the final round of voting, which is right now up on Giants.com.
Just tell me the plays.
The plays are
the catch.
Odell Beckham's catch against Dallas, which went worldwide, as viral as could be. Eli to Mario Manningham
Super Bowl.
in the second Super Bowl against the Patriots down the sideline, which set up the game-winning touchdown.
Okay.
The first Super Bowl against the Patriots, the Manning escape to David Tyree helmet catch.
Okay.
And then the other one is Victor Cruz's 99-yard catch and run against the Jets during that 2007 Super Bowl season that propelled the Giants on a tremendous postseason run as they defeated their arch rivals from the other side of the stadium.
And I'm not going to make fun of this list. I'm not. But this is not an age-appropriate list. There's nobody above 30 years old that voted for this. Not one person. Are all the 30-year-olds like they vote like 1,000 times or something? Like, what is going on?
Well, they probably hit multiple times on their phone. That's why, right?
The ADD's kicking in. They keep clicking. I got it.
So would you care to make a ranking of these 4 players?
If you had to make a ranking of these 4 plays, and this is why you'd rank them, you'd go Mario Manningham, great play, and Tyree. Those 2 plays were game-changing plays in Super Bowls.
In winning Super Bowls, I might also add.
Exactly, in winning Super Bowls. Tyree's play is just it's the end of a great play because Eli's doing the escape artist route, getting the ball off, so that would rank number 1. The Manningham on the sideline is definitely number 2 because of the way that came off. Needed play, couldn't have been any more. The toe drag swag was in full effect, and then the Victor Cruz play is a great play, but the influence of it, the quote-unquote starting the salsa, it was like a big thing.
Well, he started the salsa in Philadelphia a few years earlier.
Yeah, but
this was the game against the Jets that started that team on its run to winning a Super Bowl.
And then Odell's only 4th because the significance of it wasn't as great, but the effect of it was incredible.
Yes.
You're right. Now, if this was like, this is what he was like all the time. But it wasn't like it didn't lead to a championship season. Like here, you got three games.
It didn't even lead to a victory that night.
I know
the Giants lost the game.
It was a great play, but like that was like back in the early. How long ago have we been since we beat Dallas run kind of moment? And so great play, great player. Always wishing him the most because he really had a heart for the game and still love that kid to this day. But his play would go forth.
I happen to agree with you on all 4. For all reasons that you stated, that's how I would rank these 4 plays. Based on the significance and the context of the plays, it's a different question if you simply talk about the best play without context. Because then Victor Cruz's play would probably be 4th.
Yeah, I would have taken like Mark Ingram in the Super Bowl breaking 7 tackles, trying to get the first down.
That was your Super Bowl, Howard.
That was my Super Bowl.
Your win.
You
had a
win.
loss, too.
Yeah, I had a loss, too, but I would have taken that play as one of the top plays. I would have taken any play from the Ice Bowl. I know we weren't around to see it, but that's like the start of TV, right?
Well, the Ice Bowl was Green Bay and Dallas, though.
Wait a minute. When the Giants played in an ice bowl kind of situation?
Well, they played in the snow game when Summerall hit the field goal against Cleveland.
That's not the game.
If that's what you're talking about. Are you talking about the sneakers game?
The sneakers game.
Oh, back in the 30s.
Oh, then that's before TV. That's way before TV.
The other plays that Bob and Schmuck were saying could be considered in the top 4 were the Seahorn pick 6 and
against Philadelphia, which was a phenomenal athletic play.
Mm-hmm.
And the what's his name? There was like 4 blockers in front of him, and he still made the tackle against the Packers.
Oh,
you mean
Webster.
Antonio Pierce?
Yeah, Antonio Pierce. Okay. That was another play.
I will tell you, one of the greatest athletic plays in Giants history was Osi Umenyiora on the one-handed tip sack, and then deflecting the ball, picking it up, and going.
Strip sack, fumble, touchdown.
Yeah. That was one of the most athletic plays. If you wanted to go top 10 athletic plays, OC's play would be in there.
I think any play that Plexico made while he was here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Plex was a beast.
Oh man, love Plex.
I mean, any sack by Lawrence Taylor could be in there. Him getting up off a guy and saying like, "You guys got to do better than this." That's crazy.
You know, Howard. Let me ask you a question about Lawrence, because you played with the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. While I understand, because he's the greatest defensive player that's ever played in the National Football League, and there is no competition with anyone else. I'm sorry, but they all have to take a back seat. Lawrence Taylor's tackle, when he comes from the backside and tracks Reuben Mays down against the Saints, from all the way across the field. I'm sorry. I know it's not a strip sack. I know it's not an interception for a pick 6 like against Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. But that play against Reuben Mays, I'm sorry, it is one of the most impressive plays that a human being could make because of the traffic he had to navigate, the distance that he had to go, and then come from behind him.
I saw them tie Lawrence's arm to his side.
In New Orleans.
He went in and made a sack.
They paper clip, scotch tape, staples.
So to me, that like the fans don't really get to see that, but when they're tying his arm to his side and they're like, he goes, get me back in the game. I'm like, are they seriously gonna put him in the game? He goes and makes a sack, I guess.
That's that primetime game.
Yeah, so like
the Jeff Rutledge game, I believe.
Yeah, so you gotta like, I'm telling you, you gotta watch that. When I tell kids, they're like, oh, Michael Parsons, I'm like, there's nobody.
Watch that game.
There's nobody like him.
I remember when LT retired, I remember talking to Parcells. I did a sit-down with Bill. We had lunch, and I was doing a special on Lawrence Taylor for the radio. And Bill and I sat down and taped a segment together. And we both agreed, without question, that game in New Orleans in the Superdome, that nighttime primetime game when Lawrence had that harness and he was playing with one arm and he had like 3 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, absolutely dominated the game with one arm.
When you don't have an answer for a guy, you don't have an answer.
That's the trademark Lawrence Taylor game. That if you need to tell anybody in 100 years from now what was Lawrence Taylor, that's the game you show.
Yeah, I mean he was phenomenal.
As Bill said to me, he willed that game on his own. He willed that game to victory.
As dominant, or probably even more dominant than Reggie White, and Reggie White was like a monster. It was just incredible. So, yeah, it was crazy.
You know what, Howard? It's funny. You got to see him in practice, too, when he come out in sandals sometimes.
I got it. It's like 90 degrees today, and I know when Lawrence used to show up in a scuba suit and shoulder pads, I'm like, is this dude crazy? No, they're telling us to hydrate. He's wearing a scuba suit. What is he doing? He goes, I got to cut back some weight. I'm like, you're going to die. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, he was a great dude. Still is a great person.
One time I was talking to Jumbo Elliott a few years back, and Jumbo and I were reminiscing about Parcells and Lamar Leachman and some of the other coaches on that staff. And I said, Jumbo, you remember when in 2-a-days Bill would tell you to get your ass back on the practice field because Lawrence had no one else to practice against who could push him. And you used to have to do both ends of the 2-a-days. And Jumbo said, oh, I absolutely remember those days.
I remember stuff like don't catch him before he falls. He's not hurt. The good old days.
Oh my goodness. All right, folks, that'll do it for today's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. We are here every weekday from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 in the afternoon. Jot down the number, 201-939-4513. Always give us a call. We're very glad to take it and enjoy talking Giants football with you for 1 hour. Once again, a reminder, the Night of Legends at the theater at Madison Square Garden coming up on Thursday night. There are still some tickets available on Ticketmaster. We hope to see you there. That'll do it for Howard Cross. I'm Paul Dottino. We'll catch you next time on Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So long, everybody.
With NFL news happening around the clock, you'll never be left on the outside looking in on the Insiders Podcast, featuring myself, Tom Pelissero, along with Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo, Judy Batista, and NFL Network's team of experts. The Insiders has you covered with up-to-the-minute news from around the league, detailed team reports, and analysis that only the Insiders can deliver. Listen to the Insiders Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.